I have discussed on the show previously about the work experience that I did for 2 weeks at the local primary school, my old primary school, and I teased that I think I teased that I would tell you about the other work experience that I did at the local print shop. So today's the day, because I can't think of anything else to talk about. Not that today hasn't been exciting, but it's all stuff that I don't really have much to say about. So we're talking about this. Why not? For in between the second and third years of my degree, I decided I would go and work at a print shop for a bit to, it's getting a feel for the industry that I was intending to go into and still haven't yet. And I thought it would be a good idea. So I went and volunteered my time for, I think I just did 6 weeks, but it feels like it was a lot longer than that. I didn't go during term time, or semester time, I suppose. So it must have been around 6 to 8 weeks. And it was a pretty interesting experience. It was run by the first... It was run by the first same-sex couple to get married, legally married, in the village, or the town where it is, where the shop's based, which in itself is rather fascinating. They were in the news and everything. And it was weird because they didn't seem to... they seemed to bicker all the time. They were like an old married couple, one could say. And it was this little shop. It was... I think there's like a beauty parlour there now, because beauty parlours seem to crop up wherever shops shut. And they did all sorts of stuff. Their main stock in trade was t-shirts. And so in the back of the shop they had this big old t-shirt press. It was basically heat. So they had a sort of a cutting machine. I'm not exactly sure what the material was that they used, but it was... well, I guess it was a bit like what's on this t-shirt. Kind of a stickery material. I don't know, vinyl maybe? Very thin vinyl. And so this machine would cut a template out, and then you'd have to painstakingly peel the template off. It was a good day when you had like big, bold design, maybe even one-piece design. And it was a bad day when you had a design that had lots of tiny little pieces. There were quite a few that had text on them, and you can imagine how painful that was to try and unpick each individual letter, and then like unpick the counter from an O, for example, or a D or a P. Yeah, not fun. And then the dot on the I as well. Fun stuff. So there was that, and then you would lay this template opposite way round on top of a t-shirt. I think, I'm just trying to remember how it went actually. I think you needed to lay the t-shirt in between two layers of sort of heat-proof stuff, so that the template didn't melt onto the plate, because it was this big. It was like a big iron, essentially, a big trouser press. So you place the t-shirt on in between these two heat-proof things, pull it down and give it a good press. Leave it for like, I think 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Pull it back up and you had a t-shirt, and it was pretty magic. And there was a similar machine that did full colour prints. They didn't use that one as often. I think it was more expensive to run. And so the single colour stickery things were the more commonly used item. But... as I say, there was also the full colour one that you could use. And I think that one you had to print backwards, just because of the way it went onto the shirt. My memory fails me somewhat. They also had a mug printing machine, so it was the same sort of thing, but it was like a round clamp. Again, heat, and you had to put the stickery thing on there. So you'd lay that onto the mug and then press it into the machine, and it'd make you a nice mug. What else did they do? I mean, they did all sorts of garments. So they'd do hoodies. Hoodies were a big one. I remember there was one particular order that was sashes. And I was... I think there were like 20 to do. and I was giving them to do. It was a few weeks in, so I kind of knew what I was doing, and I was told, I specifically remember I was told to leave the barcode labels on the sashes. I asked if I needed to take them off, and I was told, no, you don't need to take them off. So I did all the sashes, and it turns out I did need to take them off, because they'd all melted onto the sashes. Should have thought of that, but, well, I was told not to take them off, so there was that. And there was also the system by which orders were placed wasn't amazing. It was all handwritten, which is fine, except there was no one place that they were kept, so orders were just literally all over the shop. And, orders sometimes got lost, which was a bit of a shame. But, the place was pretty well run, and they got orders and things got done, so can't have been that bad. I distinctly remember the cupboard just full of t-shirts of all different colours, and I remember thinking one of my dreams is to open a little print shop, maybe not focusing on garments, but I did like the idea of people coming in and having a look through like a catalogue, and they can look, oh, there's a nice shirt, and you can say to them, well, this one's quite high quality, but just flick over a few pages, this brand, we usually get better results with this brand, and then they can say, oh, okay, well, this doesn't come in the colours that I want, but I'll try it. That sort of thing. In fact, I did have a print brochure somewhere. It seems to have gone. Yeah, I don't know what's happened to it. But I've got quite a few like sample packs and things that, all good intentions and all that. And the owners of the shop also had the same idea, to the extent that they bought I think it was a Tassimo coffee machine. They had this little coffee rack, and it had all the pods laid out on it. They had it was all unique flavours, so they didn't have any repeats, which was quite impressive. I remember I was filling it up. And that was the first time I tried a coffee, and I went straight in with an espresso. Yeah, that was fun. But that was a nice idea. There was nowhere to put the coffee machine, of course, but that was that. There was also the one week where the owners went on holiday, and so I was running the place myself, which was quite cool. I got paid for my effort, which is interesting. I think I got paid a fair amount, considering I spent most of the day watching Vinesauce streams. But that's because, I wasn't specifically tasked, here's some orders that need completing or whatever. I think there might have been one or two. It was mostly just people coming in, and I didn't, because I didn't run the shop, I didn't know how much to charge people, so I was just like, oh, you'll have to come back in a week or so, which was a little awkward. There was this one guy who also ran a print shop in another town, and he'd sometimes come to the one that I was at to order things that he didn't do. And I remember he used to come in the moment I opened the door, and I'd usually go in and go straight to the loo because I needed the loo, and get myself sorted, put my bag away, and turn the computers on, get ready for the day's business. And he was already in there. I think it was like an hour before opening time, and he was already in there. So that was kind of stupid, but thankfully he knew, because he'd been often enough, he knew roughly how much was charged for certain items, so that was fine. That's kind of it, really. It was an interesting experience. Oh yes, that was the other thing. I've not really got enough time to talk about this, but whatever. We're gonna go into overtime, I guess. There was one point where because I taught myself web design back in 2011, and sort of kept on top of it here and there. Not any of the latest developments, but I don't really care about those. I like simple web design, and the owners were looking to put together a new website because theirs was rather dated, and so I put it together, but they had the world's worst content management system, it was made by somebody who they were mates with, so they got it for free. And I think they resold it to other shops. It was god awful. You couldn't do anything with it. It was so painful to use. I did end up hacking together some sort of nice new design for them, but it didn't work, so I had to revert it back to the old one. Nightmare. Absolute nightmare. And it's a shame because I thought it was a decent design. Granted, it was a bit grey. There was another volunteer at the shop for a couple of weeks as well, and they came up with some sort of design layout, and I built it. But it was very grey, and they were being a same-sex couple, they were very leaned quite heavily into that angle of things. It was very gay, so having a grey shop didn't really go, did it? Thinking back on that one. Anyway, it was around 7 years ago. About right now, because I remember I was there on my 21st birthday, or near enough. So there we are. That was my print shop work experience. One day I would love to own a print shop and just do little prints for people. That would be great, but that day is not here as yet. Maybe someday. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all when I'm 28.